State Militia, Shadowpoint Solo Run. For those that don't know, I am also a Shadowrun Game Master in a living community called Shadowpoint. Both the Player of Horatio and the Player of Improv from the actual play series are founding members of Shadowpoint, and from time to time I record the runs I either GM myself or that I get to play in. And what I have for you today is a solo run that I GM'd for a good friend on Shadowpoint named Ulminati. He is playing Kraken, an infiltration-styled Decker that has been working toward gaining solid reputation with a Matrix gang called the Reality Hackers. Now, this run has nothing to do with the actual play featuring Improv, Juliet, Horatio, and Kennel. But I had an extremely good time exploring the Matrix with Ulminati and thought it might make for an entertaining story for my fellow Matrix lovers out there. This run was also an experiment in handling the hacking portion of a job as something more than just rolling dice. It's time to begin Kraken and the Reality Hackers. So again, this is a solo run for Kraken, and for this run, you are looking to gain some kind of goodwill with the Reality Hackers, and maybe something neat on top. Is that about right?
Yep, like the thing that Kraken really wants is they got her out of Mask. They were the people that extracted her after she made her case that the whole court was being horrible and forcing her to be on the open water, which her stomach did not agree with in the least. And even though the operation kind of got botched and she took a frag grenade to the face, which is why she has all the used cyberware, they did technically save her, so she feels like she really owes them, and she's trying to find a way to settle the books.
All right. I got something I can work with that. So now I need to pull up one of the 12,000 tabs I have open.
Would you like the link to the Google sheet that I run my cyberdeck in?
No, if I need you to update the page, I'll ask for it, or I'll just ask you what your current attributes are. I try to have as much faith in people as I can, so I don't really worry. I mean, I've been on runs with you before, and I've read after actions for runs you were in, and there's never been any question that you were cheating on any of them. So if I need to know your firewall and I ask you what's your firewall, I strongly doubt you're going to, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you I did this, and you'll just tell me what it actually is.
Yeah,
Um,
the little red box is what I'm assuming is like the standard configuration she'll flicker back to when she's not doing anything.
I trust that you can keep track of your deck, and like I said, if I need to know what something is, I'll ask. And if I didn't
Okay,
trust that you would tell me the truth, I wouldn't waste my time doing a solo. So hey, I got faith in you, baby.
yay! It's fine. I just like to brag with my lovely Google sheet. I am very proud of it.
It's been a long day. Perhaps going to a place as mundane as a shopping mall wasn't such a good idea. 3 hours of pushing crowds, greasy food, and less than impressive sales left you feeling emptier than when you first arrived. But to be honest, though, you can't blame the entirety of your sour mood on a shopping mall. So this is just a regular day for Kraken. You don't have any jobs lined up. There's really not that there's nobody that wants to hang out with you or go do something. It's just you're just kind of feeling like rolling solo one day. It happens. You just have that day where you just want to be by yourself, be cool, especially after what happened on that run when when you finally had to do the deed and take care of someone. Someone had to done get got. Tell me how that affected Kraken. Like, how did she handle that?
The only time that people got on Kraken's runs that he was aware of was actually when she had to poison a guy and straight up murder him. She felt terrible about that. Kraken still herself that like she was a good person. She knew that was the told herself, and she had serious doubts after that. And she only did it because like if she hadn't straight up murdered the guy and then cried her eyes off later and woke up in a basement baking cakes, that's a weird one. Then her friends might have been shot, and she didn't want that either. So it's like one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't things.
Yeah, necessary evils are often necessary. But every once in a while, you go through something like that and everything's okay and everything's okay. And then you just have that day where you just want the world to forget you exist. And this is one of those days. So, what do you do when you're trying to forget about your life? You go and you do something completely out of the ordinary and you act like a regular person. So, on this day,
Yeah,
you decided the mall's a good place to go. I don't know, maybe there was a sale commercial that you saw when you're watching Tridio. Maybe there was a radio broadcast that you just couldn't get that jingle out of your head. But it just frag it. We're getting up. We're going for a drive. So you get up, you get dressed. Standard things. It's just a regular day. You're going to the mall. Now tell me, what kind of stuff does Kraken bring when she goes on some mundane shopping trip like the mall?
well, she has her Hermione bag. just in case something comes up, because a girl is no without a grappling hook. Gotta have that tactical grapple gun, but mostly it's just bits of odds, and then there might be some parts of her B&E gear in it, just because you cannot be bothered to unload the bag. But mostly she's Kraken had a very, very expensive. Well, she had two very expensive meters with genuine meat not long ago, and she has a real craving for pizza. But she's not craving a pizza that's that expensive, so she's desperate trying to find something that could pass as meat over here. Because the people she was with at the time, they ate most of the very expensive pizza.
That sounds amazing. So, you're sitting in your Mara car and you get on the highway and you start running out towards the mall. For the most part, it's just a boring ride. A grid guy takes care of everything. You lose half the adventure of being alive in the future because everything is automated. But it gives you time to sit back and watch some Trid, relax a little bit. And especially for things like getting off of the highway, there's always so much traffic that, I mean, if you had to focus on every single minute, then you just might go insane. I mean, you'd have to stop the phone call you had, you'd have to stop watching whatever it was that you saw in VR, maybe you'd have to move some of your AR and windows out of the way. So that's why Grid Guide is nice. It takes care of those things and it glides you off of the highway and you're just in your own world, trying to remember what it's like to be a regular person again. So
Kraken is leveling up one of her alts in loot quest, because the new expansion's coming, and you gotta have one of each class for that.
you have to make sure
Uh,
because you never know which one's going to turn OP and which one's going to turn into dog food.
yeah, and you don't want to be rushing to level up an alt while everyone else is getting the new shinies. You want to have them ready. Although she is low key keeping an eye out on what is happening, because the only people in the future that don't trust cars is the Deckers, because they know. Oh, they know.
Well, you're sitting there and you're approaching level 11, and you've been standing on that rock and you've been hitting those weird like dinosaur-looking guys that can't jump high enough, but you have a ranged weapon, so you can just plink away and just take advantage of that sort of not really a cheat spot. Just it's a little BS, but hey, who cares? So you're doing this, and right as your level indicator ticks 11, and you have the big gold flourish that goes around your field of view, you just look up out of reflex, and there's a man standing in front of your car, gyrating. He's wearing some kind of like a pig costume, like a smiling, almost cartoon pig that's sitting in its own stew pot, and he has this huge ladle that he's waving around in the air. And I mean, yeah, you got the mirrored windshield on your car, but it's almost like he can see into your soul with every thrust of his porcine hips inside that cauldron. This is the state of advertising in the sixth world. You thought this stuff was left behind 100 years ago, and nope. Still, the best way to get someone to notice you is to annoy them.
That is wow. Yeah, this is not what Kraken expected. Is this right out on the road, or is she near a
It's
parking lot?
you're sitting at a effectively a red light, waiting for traffic to clear for Grid Guide to send you forward. And this is one of those like I'm not sure if you have a where you live in the U.S. It's quite common. They're almost like you want to call them a street performer in a way. Like you have the sign spinners in some cities you have sign spinners that will take the handheld sign and they'll throw it in the air and they spin it around them and it's like this almost acrobatic kind of display. Other places will have somebody in a costume that will run out in front of cars during a red light, so the car is already stopped, and they will dance and they'll yell, "Come to Glory Bail Bonds, so you too can get your loved ones out of jail." So
Yeah, he got Kraken's attention, all right. What? This
uh,
was not what she expected.
Matrix Perception. He is not actually flashing any arrows currently.
Huh.
Like,
But
and
then
oddly enough, he's
how will I know his nerves?
well. That's a good question because as you're doing this, and you lean forward a little bit in the car, and you got the brain timer. You're a smart enough person to know how long a red light will last. Maybe a second before the light's scheduled to turn green, he slams his right hand down on the hood of your car. The actual hear the impact of this weirdo in a pig costume slamming his hand down on the hood of your car. And as the moment the light turns green, he spins in a ballerina's pirouette and dashes off to the side of the road to get out of the way. Now, the moment he pulled his hand forward, and a split second before he hit the hood of your car, you notice there was a new arrow, which is currently broadcasting loudly from the hood of your car. And it is a cartoon 3D image of a giant fat pig cooking itself in a cauldron. It has the ladle in the air, and the broth of the cauldron is pouring over its gelatinous looking roly poly body. And it's on the hood of your car now.
Yeah, Kraken's instincts are kicking in. Going out of the way and actually spiking the thing, that would just be rude, because someone obviously put a lot of care and attention into this tag. But she is gonna think she's not gonna be broadcasting his thing, so she wants to just get a couple of marks on it and then turn it off.
Well, it is a device rating 1 ARFID tag, so you can do that with you. Don't worry, you can buy hits on that. I don't want to be the guy that makes a Decker fail on hacking a tag, because I've seen that happen, and the poor person who did it a year later was still getting shit for it. So we're just going to say buying hits, you can disable the tag.
Yeah, we will not talk about the time that Kraken nearly got converged by a meta link.
All I can say is the person that I witnessed who failed hacking a tag, I don't mean it was a security tag, it wasn't a stealth tag, it was a standard tag, a device rating 1 tag. And he somehow crit glitched a data spike and almost sent his deck to the trash. So your car continues going. It takes you to one of the larger malls, a good place where you can just get lost in the crowds. And where does Kraken like to shop? Like what does she look for when she's wandering around pretending to be a regular person at a place like this, a place that's full of families and boyfriends and girlfriends and old people doing their daily walks to get their exercise goal so they can get their 32-cent cup of coffee at McSoy Donald's. Where are the kind of places that Kraken goes? What does she look for?
Well, Kraken has three big weaknesses. One is anything that is geeky, and especially if it's related to Matrix games. But you get all of that online now. The old school stores are gone, and it's going to be at least another 4 hours before things get started up at the Cathode Glow, where Kraken has a VIP pass. So the other two things is things that make her feel pretty, but that's not her mood today. Today she's in a mood for greasy synthetic food. So she's going to be beelining for the food court and trying to find something, because she has a craving. She has a craving for something that approaches a pizza, and that new purple taste, the stuffer slush that you heard about on the Data Haven.
Stuffer slush is some good stuff, I have to admit. Did you know that it stays cold for weeks at a time? It's
Yeah, it's
amazing
amazing.
technology. What is the first place that she goes to eat? Like, describe what the place looks like to me, because this is a standard food court. You walk up, you order at the counter, you step to the right, you wait for your order to come out. Unfortunately, the mall is too congested to use flying drones. There was a lawsuit about 4 years ago. All I can say is a really tall elf, a roto drone that had slightly sharpened blades so it would fly a little faster. Now all of a sudden somebody's wearing an eye patch. So unfortunately, food has to be hand delivered out to your table, or you have to pick it up at the counter. So where does Kraken choose? You said some kind of pizza place?
Hmm. There is Pepe's pepperonis, which aren't actual pepperonis, but if you close your eyes, then they're greasy enough to almost pass it off. Rumor has it that they get some of the grease from real meat. That's why the taste is so authentic.
What a bunch of animals. Who eats real meat anymore?
Kraken bought two pizzas at 230 million each, with
That
genuine meat on them.
sounds about right.
And then her teammates ate most of them, because she was doing totally legal and not warrant you breaking things with Maggie and Abby. And those pizzas, they vanished like dew before the sun.
Well, the excellent thing about Pepe's Pizza, the line is only 3 people deep, which is actually one of the shorter lines in this place. So you stand in line and you're looking at the AR displays for the different kinds of pizza they offer, and the first person places their order, and exactly 64 seconds later, because we love the automation of drones, they collect their pizza and they walk back to their table. And they sit down and they begin to eat. The next person places their order, and 64 seconds later, their pizza comes up. The person in front of you, there's only one person in front of you, and you can smell that almost pepperoni, and it's actually, it's been a while since you felt hungry, but this is a happy kind of memory for you. Food memories are the best. The person in front of you places their order, they step to the right, 64 seconds later, they're handed a box of pizza. And then it's your turn. You step up, and the poor young boy who is manning the counter with an actual physical cash register in front of him. It's not real, of course. It's a throwback. They use it just to look homey and old time. He looks up and says, "Welcome to Pepe's Pizza. Would you like to pepper your pizza with pepperoni today?"
Oh yeah, yeah. I'll have the double pepperoni. And do you have that thing, the purple slush that is almost like the stuffer slush, but legally distinct?
No, no, ma'am. I'm sorry. Our machine went down today. We
Uh,
we do have purple carbonated beverage replacement option. And he tries to give you a smile, but you can tell he's very uncomfortable speaking to you.
Kraken is going to squint slightly and lean to the side and look very intently at the slusheroni machine to just to confirm that yes, it is actually down because the customer never believes that the machine is broken.
It actually has an authentic paper tag with a piece of tape on it, and it just says the words "No work."
Well, this puts a damper on my lunch plans. I'll have the purple fizzy drink instead then.
Okay, please slide your cred stick, ma'am.
It's gonna select the credit stick to pay for her lunch because she's a legal person and legal persons pays for things.
That's what you do in the world. So you're standing there. 30 seconds have gone by. 40 seconds. 45. Right about the 48-second mark that you hear, oh, Drac, what the, oh, Drac, from inside, and the very distinct smell of smoke. The young man who took your order, he comes up and he goes, "Oh, ma'am, I'm so sorry, but our oven caught on fire. We can, oh, geez, I don't want to get fired. Oh, geez, that fire's big." Looking, if you actually peer in the back, you can see black smoke coming out of the cooking unit.
Oh no. Yeah, you'd better get on that. Can I have my new yen back?
Of course, ma'am. And as always, thanks for choosing Pepe's Pizza. And he will credit you a refund. Well, crap. Today's not turning out as good as you thought. First, a gyrating pig threw an AR tag on your car, and now your pizza done got burned up. So, where do you think you should try now?
Well, there is always the fallback of soy ribs. And the good thing about soy ribs is that they sell them down at the shack, and they'll have the genuine purple slice, and you'll at least have half of what you wanted. Because they gotta think of the positives. Cannot be a grumpy person who only thinks of negatives. Down that road that goes to a dark place. Gotta stay chipper.
Well, looking through the food court, you actually do see a soy ribs joint, and they have a man holding a sign, which is a little bit redundant since everything's in AR already, and it tracks your field of view. So the moment you look in the direction, an actual AR advertisement will pop up. But he's holding a sign and not really dancing, but doing that, "Oh my God, I'll get fired if I don't at least move a little bit." And he's rocking back and forth. "Try the soy ribs. Tastes so good you'll swear it was meat. Try the soy ribs."
Kraken's gonna come up and flash him a huge smile and wave her metal hand at him. Hello, good sir. I'd really like the soy ribs. What's the day special?
The day's special, ma'am, is and you can tell his accent is so fake, but he's like I said, it's part of the job. He's got the big cowboy hat, the fake bushy mustache. The special of the day, ma'am, is soy ribs with a side of. His eyes unfocused for just a split second, and you know that look. That's somebody who's reading something in AR. You know what that looks like. A side of chopped up home fry style soy fries.
Yeah, you sold me on that one, partner.
All right,
Uh,
pardoner.
and Kraken is mentally wondering why we're gotten to a point where even the stuff that's made out of vegetables is made out of soy instead.
It's a dystopic
Yeah.
future.
Yeah, we're at the point where things that were never meant to be made out of soy are made out of soy anyway.
Ma'am, would you like a beverage with that as well?
Do you have the thing that is similar to yet that legally distinct from the Stuffer Slush?
Of course, we call it a frozenated blended up dinosaur.
That sounds great.
All right,
Just
so
what I
that's
needed.
so we're looking for a slab of. Jeez, I hate my job. We're looking for a slab of soy ribs, a whole bushel of home fried style soy fries, and we want a done blended up purple dinosaur in a cup. That'll be 14 new yen, ma'am.
Kraken's gonna slide her refund voucher from from Pepe's Pizzaronis over because they're not going to give her actual money back. It's just gonna be like refund money that's good for the food court.
Of course. So he'll take it, and when he sees that it's from Pepe's Pizza, he'll look over. Are those idiots smoking at work? Whatever, not my problem. Not my fragging problem. And he will move around in AR. He'll place your order. It takes 3.5 minutes to come up. And he will actually. Do you find a table? Do you want a booth? Like, where do you want to sit for this?
Well, Kraken's a totally legal person that's not doing anything illegal, so she's gonna be sitting out in the open and just soaking in the ambience of life passing by. Because when you come off the your 12-hour Simpsons binge, you kind of need to feel the actual world for a while, so you don't forget what it's like. It is always very tempting to just fall into the trap of sitting in Simpsons all day.
You find yourself a lovely seat. It's got a great view of the rest of the food court. There's, of course, it's a mall. It's a food court in a mall. So there are corp kids everywhere, and they're all sitting around posturing, trying to be coolest. And it's pretty obvious whose daddy works for Ares because they have an Ares t shirt, whose daddy works for Horizon. They have little CU3 drones floating around their head. I mean, they could put it up in AR and it wouldn't be any more obvious. But the kind gentleman from the rib place, he will come over and he will set down your platter of soy ribs and your home fried style soy fries. But he looks a little hesitant before he sets your drink down. Ma'am, I have. Oh, I fragged this accent. Ma'am, I don't know what's going on. Our drink mixer, is everything that comes out is green. I mean, like we tasted it. It's completely fine. It's just the colorant dispenser for I don't know why everything is green. It's just literally every drink that we're trying to get out right now is green. I mean, if you want a refund, or I can give you a couple of coupons for something else, but I checked all of the other flavors, and like I said, it's good. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong. I promise. It's just green. It's not a purple slush. It's a green slush. Wait, we can't call them slushes. That stuff is blended. You know. Okay, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, don't worry, friend. It sounds like you're having a rough day.
I I just I just hate my life. That's all. But you enjoy your ribs. I hope you paid for your dock wagon contract. And he'll set the drink on the table next to the ribs and the fries, and with a big sigh, he will and he will turn his knees outward so he looks bow-legged, and he will do the cowboy waddle back to the rib shop.
There, but for the grace of God go I.
Exactly.
And you can hear the capital letters in God.
So you tear into your lunch, and it is exactly what you would expect from a mall food court. It's not so bad that you would never come back, but it's not so good that you would ever brag about having eaten it. But really, it's worth the 14 new yen. He was right about the drink. It is very green. Like, it is super green, but it tastes exactly the same. It's just obviously the color dispenser. There's something wrong going on.
Kraken's gonna slightly tap the side of her head, then send a mental command to her cybernetic eyes that the contents of this is purple. Please make it so. And then it'll look purple to her, not to anyone else, because you
That's a
can
great
always
way.
just sell yourself on the lies.
Oh, edit file is worth so much more than people realize.
Yeah,
So you're back to having your purple slush, and you finish your ribs, and you're looking down at your plate. You still got a good handful of soy fries because they give a good quantity. I mean, it's soy and potato. It's about as cheap as it gets. And as you lift one of them up and you're about to put it in your mouth, you're staring at it, and it turns green.
huh?
Looking at your plate, the rest of your soy fries turn green.
Oh no, it's like that time we were at that meet at the taco place.
Now, do me a favor. Make me a perception hearing check if you'd be so kind. All right. So from the table behind you, you hear a younger male's voice, late teens, you would say, "What the frag? Hey Billy, what'd you do to my fries, man?" And you hear a separate voice, a little bit deeper, say, "Skylar, why the frag are your fries green?" And if you look around, you'll see everybody that's eating soy fries, their soy fries are turning green.
Kraken is already mentally opening another little picture in her AR display because that thing is really crowded by now. But she tells her agent, okay, agent friend, please tell me what happens when soy fries turn green. Do I need to worry? And then she'll let the wonders of modern technology figure out what the frag is going on with the fries. I
Do
mean,
me
they
a
taste
favor.
fine.
Roll me double your agent rating, please. All right. Does your agent have a particular personality, or is it just a standard out of the
Oh
box?
yeah, it does. Kraken spent many a night lovingly crafting her agent. It is a tiny cartoon wizard that looks disturbingly similar to Hierophant because Mage Friend saved her when she went into that scary neonet facility that was full of nullsec. And Kraken has never forgotten how important it is to have a wizard friend looking out for you.
So is your agent a little on the smug hermetic side, I take it?
Yeah, she essentially think Hermione. That's what Kraken
Got it.
thinks that Mage Friend was like.
So you will hear in your virtual hearing from your agent. Well, I am not sure if you are aware, but all commercially manufactured food these days comes preloaded with RFID tags in order to track their consumption and the amount of waste so that portion sizes may be regulated. If you had taken the time to peer through the matrix with your exemplary skill, you would have seen that somebody has simply edited all of the RFID tags to broadcast as green, and therefore in your augmented vision it appears that all these faux potato products have changed color. Is there anything more pressing you need of my services, or might I return to solving the questions of the origin of the cosmos?
Yeah, you can go back to leveling my character and look with. Thank you. Thank you, mate's friend. That's all I needed.
You would swear you heard a digital sigh before it left your field of view.
Yeah, this is just like when mate's friend got upset because I kept knocking over the ritual candles.
So, if you would like to at this time, you could roll a like a matrix knowledge check or a programming knowledge, just anything that has to do with code or the matrix itself or RFID tags. Yeah, your agent was completely correct. This is it's a dumb trick that people started doing as a prank just to mess with the normies. Because most people don't realize there's RFID tags in their food. Like everything you eat, everything you drink, everything you wear is tagged in some form. And this was an old thing that people used to do where they would hack it. So when you looked at it through VR, it appeared one way, or excuse me, through AR, it would appear one way versus looking at it in the meat where it would appear completely normal. This is old school prank 101 for hackers. I mean, it's an oldie, but it's a goodie. Like, how do you not love watching all these corp kids freak out because when they would pull one contact lens out of the rye, they would argue, like, your fries look fine, and then they put the contact lens back in, like, oh frag, it's green again. And then you'd hear the cry of pain because somebody had salt on their fingers when they did it. Like it's a great prank, and it appears,
Yeah.
as far as you could tell, that somebody is systematically starting with the fries, is turning everything they can that has food-based RFID tags green.
Kraken does appreciate a good prank, but mentally the gears are spinning in their head because you do that to one guy and it's fun. You do that to everyone, and Kraken's good with numbers. She knows how God works, and someone's editing this many tags this quickly. That's a one-way trip to Headache Town. So
That
she's low key gonna start just looking around and trying to find whatever has the biggest sleaze rating she can see. I'm gonna roll the bones. She's going to be looking for something that has a sleaze rating and trying to run silent.
you can see the very advertised security spider for the shopping mall is the only thing that you've spotted with the sleaze rating.
Huh.
And it is actively perceiving just about every single thing that it can.
Kraken's going to flash her totally legal sin with the Matrix software license and the cybersecurity specialist credentials, and she's going to send the mall spider a message going, "Hi friend, do you need help?"
So this is the cute thing. You can make your avatar look like just about anything within certain size restrictions. This is the security spider for a shopping mall that rich corp kids like to go to. Specifically, he has the afternoon shift. He's not even like the night security guy when all the high profile robberies and everything happens. So of course you get the mall ninja avatar.
Of course I do.
He's a guy he's a ninja, but his black pajamas are so tight on his body you can see that he doesn't just have a 6-pack, he has like a 12-pack. Like there's more muscles than a standard human would have. And he's a baseline. You guess he's baseline human. You can't quite see the ears, but he's got to be 7 feet tall because he's got to be the tallest guy in the room. And somehow he has two of those ridiculously long. What are they? Nodachis, the like 3 meter long sword that was used in feudal times Japan. He has two of those in scabbards crossed across his back, in addition to a katana on his belt and a wakizashi on the other side, and throwing stars hanging from like tied into thread on his shirt. Like you just look at him and you're like, oh, he's a mall ninja weeb. Oh, but he will
Well,
look at
that's equal parts pathetic and adorable.
you. If anything, he did a good job sculpting the avatar. It's just a bucket of stupid. But he'll look at you and say, "Excuse me, citizen. I am on the case." And roll me Matrix Perception just one more time. All right. So with that ridiculous number of hits, you easily spot something that his avatar does when he said that dramatic line. All of the colors and the lighting around his avatar dimmed except across the eyes. He did a Captain Kirk light band to make him look more dramatic when he said that.
That's adorable. Kraken appreciates when people alter their icon, so her little avatar waves at him. Okay, just let me know if you need help. I'm not doing anything important anyway.
He will throw some kind of weird hand gestures, and then he'll drop a smoke bomb, and he'll switch to running silent. But the rest of your lunch goes by without him. I'm sure you keep doing matrix perceptions. You easily spot him because he is not exactly using an expensive deck, so his sleaze rating is terrible. He's a mall security guard for the Matrix. What do you expect? But your food doesn't taste wrong. You weren't able to find anything wrong with the food. It's just everything is steadily turning green. Aside from like the court princess who wants her regular brown potato fries, nobody's really offended by this. Like a lot of the older folk are just kind of laughing it off. But the rest of your lunch goes by without much of a hitch. And you can continue to walk around the mall, but after a while, it's turning into that after-school crowd, and just the level of corporate smug that seems to be appearing. It's actually starting to grate on your nerves.
Oh, this is fine. We'll. I mean, Kraken went to see what normal life was like, and this is just like she remembers it. Because unlike many of these people, Kraken was used to having to interact with all kinds of different corps when they came to unload their expensive cargo and have it transported somewhere else. So this is kind of nostalgic.
Well, the nostalgia is great when you're dealing with adults, but when you're dealing with whiny teenagers, it can get to the best of us. So you
Yeah,
decide.
this is why Kraken is low key. She has cybernetic ears, so she's just low key turning her sound link down, and that way they're much easier to tolerate.
You decide that you've had enough of being social, and you leave the mall, and while walking across the parking lot and seeing your dear Americar, it was enough to swear you off of being social for about the next 100 years. You see, your car is there, it's your salvation. It is a way to get away from all these whining teenagers, from the green soy fries, from the gyrating pig costumed men in traffic. You're just looking forward to getting home. Slight problem with that. Some prankster has decided to send a tough guy message. So, some small twigs have been broken from a nearby tree and tied into the shape of a person. So, like a literal stick figure. And it was left on your windshield. With your luck, with the way today's been going, it's probably another cult trying to recruit people to become, like the Universal Brotherhood. The stick spirits will come and inhabit your body. But you're pretty sure that the googly eyes that have been glued to the literal stick figure, probably not for a cult. But there's just the single one just sitting on your windshield. It's just a little wooden stick figure. There's nothing Matrix active about it. There's no bomb strapped to it. It's maybe the size of your pinky.
Well, that is adorable, and after Kraken has done her due diligence, because at some point in her soul, she's now actually a professional criminal that's supposed to be paranoid. She's gonna pocket the stick figure and gonna take it home and put it on one of her shelves, because that is kind of cute.
Having decided that you have had quite enough of the outside world, you make your way back home to Tacoma and finally to the safety of home, except for one little problem. There's a small package, maybe 10 centimeters on a side, it's cube shaped, sitting before your garage door.
Okay, now this is a bit weird, because her friends from the reality hackers didn't tell her that there were any deliveries they need her to make today, and they get a bit paranoid about having strange stuff left around one of their not exactly safe houses, but the place that she's allowed to crash.
Mhm.
So so this is very weird actually. This is probably stranger than the green soy fries. Well, being the Matrix person that she is, the first thing that you always do when you see a thing is you peer at it in the Matrix, because sometimes there is something important there, and unless something comes up that says it's Matrix active, she's gonna go and pick it up.
The only thing you see is the AR version of this. It's still the same box, 10 centimeters on a side. It's a cube shaped thing. But in AR, it has a balloon. Like there's just a balloon floating on it in AR. That's the only sculpting that's been done to it. That's the only modification. And that's from a basic RFID tag on the top. But other than that, it's exactly as it appears. It is a small package.
Well, Kraken is low-key suspecting that someone's really trying to start a prank war with her, because this is a lot of awfully targeted things in a row. But it's more interesting than leveling your ult. So let's see where this takes us. She's going to go over and look at the box and figure, well, if in a moment I'm covered in glowing paint, I brought this on myself. and she's gonna open the box.
Opening the package reveals a cube with movable pieces, 9 per side, each with a colored sticker on its face. There are a total of 6 colors, and the colors
Oh,
appear to be scrambled.
yeah, Kraken remembers these. They have them down at the cathode glow. There are some people that get really intense and they oil them up and to make them spin really fast. And they have competitions every Thursday night to see who can solve them the quickest.
So, are you going to attempt to solve this?
Kraken is the kind of person who likes to do things the easy way. So she takes a picture of each of the sides because these puzzles they were solved long ago, and you can just run it through a program and it'll get her the instructions to solve it for her.
You can totally do cheater face and just jump through the matrix. Now, are you still standing in the driveway, or do you take it inside? Like, where are you going to do this?
Well, the smog index for today is actually quite low, so let's make good use of the fresh air while it's there. You never know when the toxic rains return.
Okay, that's actually probably good because that will totally change how chunky salsa works if you're outside. So you can do the whole matrix thing, and okay, here's this face, this face, this face, and you get a step by step of how to solve it. We're talking maybe 3 minutes total to do everything. And as you're turning it around, and you got that last row of green spinning, Widdershins, and it's about to line up with its face, and you can see the yellow on the other side's about to line up. Immediately upon solving it, it will begin to project an AR image of an old Victorian telephone.
Gonna check my com. The only one that's active right now, well, the only one that's visible right now is the burner meta link because sometimes someone needs to send you a message, and she has left burner codes around a couple of times.
6 or 7 seconds after the AR image of the telephone pops up, it begins to ring. Now, this is one of those things where we don't exist in the Matrix, so I kind of have to just explain what happens with that. I can't just RP it. Basically, as it starts ringing, it is broadcasting a Matrix site address. And you can tell from the formatting, it is one of the. Like, if you went back to second edition, we had limited LTGs, which were only viable for a certain amount of time. Like, you'd have 13 seconds every 9 hours. That was the only time that its connection was actually open. That's kind of what this is. It's a limited access, like it's a key to get through a door that's only there for a little while.
Well, this does not look like a trap at all. So someone's gone through a lot of effort to talk to me, so it would be rude not to figure out what they want.
Okay. Are you going to access this in AR, or are you going to access this in
Yeah.
VR?
I'm standing outside enjoying the fresh air. I'm not going to just collapse onto the pavement like an idiot sack. You do that sometimes, but only when you're drunk. So it's going to be an AR.
So, virtually speaking, you reach out and you lift the handset of this old Victorian phone, and you've been granted access to a limited access Matrix site. Following the provided data path brings you to an ancient phone booth set before a midnight gas station and diner. The picture windows of the diner become like a lighthouse, spilling its glow over the gravel parking lot before you.
Kraken's going to mentally add a long trench coat to her icon because apparently someone is spending love and care on this, so she's gonna play along.
So, do you leave the safety of your phone booth that you're suddenly in and go to the diner?
Kraken's going to multitask and she's gonna get inside and sit down just in case something happens because I mean she has been forcibly shunted into VR before and kind of hurts on your face when you wake up.
Well, the funny thing about that is when you get there and you go up to the door, there is actually a sign mounted inside this glass door that says AR not welcome. And it has that old feel from like the 1940s in the US where it would say, blacks not welcome, Irish not welcome. Just a very large block sign that just a little bit off putting, I would say.
Yeah, that's not very nice. Well, we know how this works. This is one of those things where if you show up in AR, they're going to be upset that they cannot spike you and they cannot make your body do all kinds of stuff. But this is fine. Kraken is a professional. She knows how to do this. Her icon's going to hover outside the store for a while she makes the way up the stairs and sits down on the foam mattress, the dinky foam mattress in the bedroom, and she's going to lie down and hop into VR because again she can appreciate that someone went through a lot of effort to do this, and she wants to hear them out. So her icon's gonna add a little cigarette because apparently we are super try harding today with this thing. and she's gonna go in the door now that her icon is no longer the ghosty outline of someone who's an AR.
You know how you're talking about how you can appreciate the effort that people went through. In a word, the sculpting here is exquisite. Entering the diner sounds a tiny bell above the door, and you can't help but to be somewhat awestruck at the quality of the VR sculpture. You can smell old coffee, and I don't mean like in the air like of a freshly brewed pot, but it's seemingly coming from the very wood and tile of this diner, the kind of place that feels like it has history attached to it. The hinges on the door let out the slightest creak, and even the bottom corner of that door seems to drag over a single high spot in the tile floor. There's a bushy haired woman in an apron across the counter, and she calls out to you. What can I do for you, darling? You mean, sorry, but you gotta order if you want to sit, okay?
Yeah, sure thing. Sorry, I was just admiring the sculpt. This is really good.
The
Uh,
sculpt? Honey,
crack,
what you
crack.
talking about?
Oh, all right. Sorry. Kraken is going to send the mental signal to bring up the menu of whatever the site is selling.
Nothing happens. She's
Huh.
just staring at you. She's like, darling, are you okay? Have you been out in the cold a lot? You want me to bring you a coffee?
Oh, yeah. A Soycraft would be fine. Thank you.
Uh, uh, now, listen, darling. I understand we all have kind of rough nights sometimes, but if you've been drinking a lot and you think you're gonna get rough in here and using make believe words, well, I can call the police and they can be here in less than 15 minutes. Okay? So, do you want a cup of coffee and a menu? Cause if not, I'm sorry, but you got to go.
Yeah, please. I'd like a cup of coffee on the menu. Uh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Kraken is mentally going. Okay, this agent is really riding my ass.
She will walk
But
away and she will actually go to an actual glass coffee pot that's sitting on a burner, and she will pour this dark black liquid into a white ceramic cup, put it on a little coaster, like an actual saucer plate, and she will set it in front of you. Honey, you want cream and sugar with that?
no, I drink it black like the cat's conscience.
Like a Okay, it's just a night for weirdos, I guess. I mean, nothing personal about you, darling. It's just you're a little bit of a weirdo. So Uh, she starts chewing her gum a little bit faster. Here's your menu, and she'll pick up it's paper menu. It's like the book that opens up and each side is covered in plastic. And she'll
Hmm?
set it on the counter in front of you. And she's like, "I'm sorry, but I gotta let you know the meatloaf. We don't run out of it because Harry in the back dropped the pan." And you'll hear some just random muttering coming from the kitchen. And she'll walk away. There's three or four other customers in the diner, and it's just that quiet kind of it's late at night. I've been working all day. I just want a little bit of food in my stomach vibe to this place. But she's left you alone with a cup of coffee that is. Do you take a sip of it?
First, Kraken's going to pick up the menu and run her virtual thumb over it and admire the Simpsons because the snippy agent notwithstanding, she can appreciate a good sculpt.
The funny thing about the menu, it's when you look at it, it's absolute gobbledygook. The original Star Wars movie, Episode 4, when that came out, when Luke is flying the X-wing and he looks out at the little digital relay as R2D2 is talking to him, and it's just those random characters that appear on the screen, like almost like Matrix speak. That's what it looks like. Like it's just these random characters that just they're it just doesn't make much sense. It's not any kind of language you've seen before. It doesn't really appear to have like it's not a nice orderly rows. It's just kind of like a mess of symbols or characters or shapes even that are on this menu.
Is it in actual Orobesh?
Yeah. It could have been. Imagine if it was style like you know how the fonts that are in the older Shadowrun editions, it's like somebody tried to technology it up a little bit, like it was inspired
Hmm?
heavily by Japanese characters. It probably, yeah, you might be able to figure it out if you wanted to throw dice on it. But it kind of has the feel of like the more you look at it, especially when you make the connection to something like Orbesh, it has the feel of like a make believe video game that was based on something because what video game is going to hire a professional linguist to create their own language for them?
Yeah, it's basically in English, but they've replaced every letter with a different kind of squiggly.
Basically, yes, we'll go with that. Now, if you have something you would like to roll for that,
Well, the obvious thing is to rack her brain and see have I seen this before? Because Kraken spends more time than is technically healthy on the Matrix. She has edited the building warnings that you have now spent X hours in Simpsons. Go and stretch your leg.
You can't put it on a single game. This does, like, the more you're thinking in terms of Matrix games, this is definitely, it feels like you're on the right path, but it's not like, Shadow of the Colossus 22, the Colossus of Mars. It's not like it came from that game, but you definitely feel, 6 or 7 different games have inspired whatever this gobbledygook language is.
Hmm. This is where Kraken Loki regrets not picking up ranks in cryptography.
Well, if you would like, you could roll mathematics on this.
Yeah, that would probably work. This is a good thing about having a cybernetic calculator grafted to your brain.
Math SPU is best SPU. So you're staring at this, and you're thinking about, okay, geez, Acts of the Monads kind of used this, and what was it? The Legend of Zorbal was, no, that's definitely from that. Okay. Lord of the Jewelry used this character over here, and Cyber Dominatrix, oddly enough, and it kind of hits you, and you just have a moment where your stomach goes a little bit cold because as it hits you, your waitress walks up to you. In all the words, the more you stare at it, it just keeps saying, "Prove your loyalty."
Oh boy. And they had something from Cyber Dominatrix, so they've been on the Forbidden mixed off.
And you hear this loud snap. Your waitress is staring at you, and she looks a little bit that annoyed way that service workers can stare at you, like not to the point where they get fired, but they're making it very clear they're not happy with you. Darling, I appreciate that you got yourself a cup of coffee, but I told you need to order your meal or else you need to leave.
Yeah, I'll have. She's gonna panically looking around the room for what the others are eating. She's gonna pick something at random that she sees on another plate to buy herself some time to figure this out.
I told you gotta order. And she's gritting her teeth. And this is where it gets really creepy. Like, just all of a sudden, the skin at the corners of her eyes and at the corners of her mouth, when you get angry, how it wrinkles?
Mm-hmm.
It starts to do that, and then all of a sudden you hear cracking, like when porcelain will crack, and you see thin fractures spreading outwards. I guess I'll just bring you the special, won't I? And
Yes, please.
she'll turn her back, and in that way, of virtual reality's accelerated sense of time, she seems to turn around, and then half a second later, she's returned with a steaming platter of food, which you'll definitely want to look at the picture for that.
That looks very green. It looks almost like green soy fries.
A little different, yeah. So your waitress, she takes that platter of food and she slams it onto the counter, and it sends thick gobbets of. I mean, well, you're being kind if you call it sauce, just this thick gelatinous substance. She sends it onto the countertop, but this place was spotless when you walked in, and now the countertop is aged. There's old cigarette burns on the countertop, and like if you glance down at the floor, it looks like it hasn't been mopped in weeks. There's just a collection of just age and filth in this place.
I would like to declare full Matrix defense against goblets of sauce being sprayed at me.
I will keep that in consideration. Looking up at your waitress, her eyes have turned a shade of black, normally reserved for giant squid or perhaps 8-legged poison spiders. And she leans forward, and you actually have to crane your head up. She's suddenly standing taller than a troll, and her back is bending almost the way like a serpent can bend, like in a complete loop, but vertebrate creatures can't. But she bends forward, much as a serpent offering forbidden fruit, and rasps. They say you can prove your loyalty one bite at a time. How loyal can you be? Because the others, they didn't make it. And if you look up the other diners in the restaurant, and this is the weird thing about virtual reality. Everything can change in a split second. So what was one way earlier can be entirely different a second later. The few other diners that are in there, they're eating the same kind of gelatinous, almost insect like food that you have on your plate. And one, like an old man, he'll get a bite into his mouth, and then you just see his face. He can't do it, and he starts throwing up just all over the front of his clothes. And you might ask, why doesn't he leave? And that's because as you look down, his feet appear to be chained to his stool. looking at a booth on the other side of the restaurant where the man and the woman were sitting. The man is openly weeping, and the woman is taking handfuls of this and just slowly pushing it into his mouth. And you can hear her whispering the word loyalty over and over. But looking down at your own platter, the meal served to you seems to be some kind of giant insect that was butterflied, roasted, and covered in a viscous gel. The waitress sways in the air with the sound of a dozen porcelain plates being slowly crushed against each other.
This is the point where Kraken is mentally reminding herself, oh right, I was supposed to ask Chop Chop about that gastric nerve stimulator. Well, this is fine. This is fine. The foam mattress is machine washable. Yeah, well, someone is obviously going all in with this. Kraken is going to just wreck her mind quickly before she does this.
So Matrix threats. There's
Yeah,
a lot.
she's
You are in full VR right now. This could be a virus. This could be a form of ice. This could just be a VR sculpt and a host. There's a lot of things that it could be. How badly could this go on a scale of 1 to brain fried? Maybe dead. Maybe it's from a video game that's coming out soon. Maybe it's a weird fetish website of being forced to eat disgusting things. You really don't know.
Kraken's going to low key switch the sim from hot sim to cold sim, and that is still technically VR.
Oh.
She's going to get get the fork, and she's gonna stick it into the thing, bring a mouthful up to her nose, and gently sniff at it. And as she does, she's going to peer at it to try to figure out what kind of code is this thing trying to feed into my stream. Because psychotrope is a thing, and I would very much like to not be a matrix vegetable. I'm thinking, sensing or determining the composition of something in the matrix. It's when it's not just a matrix perception, would be something like logic plus software to determine what kind of code it is.
Yeah, let's do that. I like the way that sounds. I'm going to treat it on my end of the dice roll as a matrix perception just because there's a defined dice pool for that.
Mm-hmm.
So you can tell that it's code. You can tell that it's coded to be gelatinous. You can tell that it's coded to, oh God, have a carapace. Like that, if you actually look at the underlying code of what you're staring at, the word carapace is part of it. You can tell that it's coded to be spicy and sour. But what its actual purpose is, you really can't tell.
Huh.
Now, the longer you stare at it, you will be able to tell that it's and I'm only telling you this because you actually hit a target number I had established before for matrix perception, but we'll count it for this. The oily sheen, you tilt your plate a little this way, tilt your plate a little that way, and usually oil has something of a rainbow color. This is more of a silver and gold kind of color that the sheen on this gelatinous crap has.
Hmm. Well, the agent is being very insistent in front of me. Kraken's going to just casually load up the armor and biofeedback filter, which I guess is the 6th-world version of antivirus software.
You're pounding the Rolaids before you begin dinner. Got it.
Yeah.
Now I will let you
I
know
guess
the longer you stare at this, the more your waitress is turning. Like she went from being a 5 foot nothing woman, so a meter 43 ish, to all of a sudden she's like she's like 2.5 meters tall. Like she's the height of a troll, but is rail thin, and her face has this cracked porcelain look, and her eyes are this flat, unreflective black like a predator, and her back is curving almost like in the shape of a question mark as she's starting to loom over you, and her hands are coming up ever so slowly from her sides.
Kraken's going to, at the speed of thought, check that she has backed up all of her stuff onto an air gap server, so that she's not going to lose anything when she completely wipes her cyber deck after this. And she's going to take a bite.
Roll me composure.
Oh boy, do I get any bonuses for being in cold sim instead of hot sim to kind of lessen it?
I'll give you a +1.
It is not a glitch.
And you close your lips around it, and you projectile vomit with such force that your eyes begin to water. But when you actually open your eyes again, the food looks like you've never touched it. The fork is sitting next to the plate as before, except your waitress is about an inch away from you, and those black dead eyes are staring at you. Prove your loyalty. I've got all of eternity.
I'm gonna be honest with you, friend. This went to a place that I did not expect. So,
You're
so,
you were definitely getting the vibe that it would be bad to not continue.
mm-hmm. Kraken's going to check one of the cameras. Like there's a sense attack in the eyes of the little articulated loveware toy on her shelf that she bought on the previous run, just to check on her meat form in meat space and make sure that it's not covered in vomit.
No, the color looks a little bit off, but you're not going to Jimi Hendrix yet. But your color
Oh
does look a
boy.
little off.
Oh boy. Is my meat body's face pointed at anything that I would be very sad to have dump shocked on?
Only your entire apartment. The waitress
Oh
suddenly she
god.
slams her hands, and instead of fingernails, it looks like somebody has pushed an actual like a 10-penny nail through the joint and out the tip of her finger, and she's dragging them on the counter.
I'm doing it, friend. I'm doing it, friend. Chill, please.
So do you take another bite?
Gonna take another bite.
All right, go ahead and give me your composure at a +2. I'm sorry, make that a +3 because you're getting the +1 for cold sim.
Yeah, I'm counting in the plus one I had before.
All right, so you take a bite and it I don't want to be gross, but you know when you're about to throw up and it feels almost like it hits the back of your teeth, but you choke it down? That's where
Mm-hmm.
you're at. Every time you feel that urge to heave, the waitress gets a little closer and a little closer. You can smell her skin, and it smells like old wood is the only way I can think to describe it. Like old wood that's been left in the sun for far too long that it starts to get that dry rot to it.
Mm-hmm.
It has
Where it's basically coming apart as you look at it.
that's basically what it smells like. But you eat it and then you take another bite and it almost feels uncontrolled, like the hurried sense of just get it down, get it down, get it down, and you shovel through it and you finally drop the fork as it appears most of the meat portion has been eaten off of this and some of the sauce, and the other diners are staring at you, and the old man that kept vomiting all over himself is just actively crying. And if you listen to what he says, he's just yelling, just just kill me so I can leave. Please. It's been days. Please.
Kraken has a shiver down the back of her spine, and just casually while she's eating and trying not to think about this, checks if she's link locked.
You are not link locked.
Huh.
Now, do me a favor. Make me a memory check.
I remember too much. I remember all the things.
You. It's weird. It's like I equate it to like we understand how skill wires work. You take your active soft chip, you slot it into your skill jack, and all of a sudden your body knows how to do something. You're looking at what's left of your food at this weird like skeletal carapace of just gobbets of nastiness. And the more you stare at it, the more it reminds you of that Victorian phone that appeared in AR when you solved the Rubik's Cube.
That is a very strange connection to make, but if
It
Kraken
just
makes it.
it's the weird way that the legs, if you want to call them legs, bend. It kind of looks like the frame of the phone, and the plate. The more you stare at it, kind of reminds you of the base that the phone sat on, and the thing that you're guessing was the stinger tail would be the cord going to the handset. Well, you're pretty sure if you rolled hardware, you might want to reassemble this phone, and that's what I mean about with the slotting an active soft. Like you suddenly know how to do something. It's not that you know how, you feel this impetus that you should put the phone back together.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. This is obviously some kind of weird puzzle or test, or someone is having a bit of a mean-spirited prank at me. But we'll be a good sport and roll along, and then once the back is turned, we'll get them back. But first, Kraken is low-key going to memorize some of the code that went into this very disgusting goop, because she has tantrum and she has cat's paw, and someday she might need to hit a security spider with this sensation.
So it's almost like you understand my inspiration for the disgusting goo.
Did I just eat tantrum?
Maybe. I mean, maybe when you did that,
I would very much like to post etch this.
you can roll again. It's the longer you
Okay.
take, the closer the waitress is getting to you. Completely out of character, I will let you know you're running out of time. So as
So
you
that
your hands just move seemingly of their own accord. Finally, you get to the last piece. It's about to snap in, and you can see the waitress's hand is climbing up. It has to be 3.5 meters in the air, and those nails that are jammed through her finger, they look rusted and contaminated. And the moment you click in the last piece, it's back to normal. It's your regular waitress, and Everything is clean, and this place is a bastion of light in the middle of the night at some gas station and diner. And the other diners appeared to have finished their plate, and they're just enjoying, a cup of coffee after their meal. The floor is no longer covered in mold. The other diners are once again more than just desiccated corpses, and your waitress has shed the cracked porcelain skin and no longer stares at you with a predator's black, soulless eyes, returning instead to her southern glory and charm.
Excuse me, miss. Could I have a glass of water?
Well, sure thing, honey. How you feeling after that? You ate that whole special real quick. Let me get you some water, darling. Oh, by the way, the phone's for you. And the moment she turns her back, the phone will begin to ring.
Kraken is gonna pick up the phone because someone's going through a lot of effort to get to her.
It's just like before. It is one of those limited access passes, if you will, to a Matrix site.
I don't know how much you've done this, but back in the good old days when people didn't have their own domain name, you could kind of infer some of the stuff about the site you're about to visit by looking at the various parts of the URL. And Kraken is kind of peering at the code and trying to figure it out if there's anything that sparks like any recollection of what am I heading off to.
So that's the weird thing is some of it you just look at and you know what it is. And some of it is almost like access IDs, and some of it is it's talking about height, and it's talking about blood type, and you glance at it like it's almost like a full biometric read is attached to this address. And the address is a domain operated by Weapons World.
Kraken is going to try and sample a gut feeling. This is me low key asking if I can use common sense to figure out how badly would it go for her if she before she took this phone maneuvered her meat body to the toilet just in case something similar was about to happen. She's thinking that the scope might react quite violently because it did before.
You can keep your common sense just because of your Matrix threats earlier. You're pretty sure it would be bad if you tried to back out of the host before accepting this limited time key to get to another Matrix site.
Yeah, I was wondering if it's one of those where you could memorize the key, then go somewhere where if your body decided to flail around, you didn't break anything.
Well,
And
the
then
longer you
type in the
stare at
code.
it, the more you see the timer counting down for how long this key is valid.
There is an actual timer on it. Well, then let's not waste any time. Kraken was not aware of the timer.
Sneaky GM tricks. That concludes the first part of the solo run, Kraken and the Reality Hackers. Be careful of strange restaurants and those wild Matrix hosts, and always order the special.